During the day, units of the missile forces and artillery of the defense forces hit the command post, 11 areas where the occupiers were concentrated, a warehouse of fuel and lubricants, and an enemy ammunition warehouse. On January 16th, the defense forces of Ukraine repelled enemy attacks in the areas of more than 20 settlements in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. This is stated in the morning summary of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on Facebook, Ukrinform reports. Therefore, it is noted that during the past day, the enemy launched 2 missile and 7 air strikes and carried out more than 70 attacks from rocket salvo systems. There is a high danger of further Russian air and missile attacks on objects throughout the territory of Ukraine. The enemy does not abandon its intentions to capture the entire Donetsk region. It is conducting offensive actions in the Bakhmut and Avdiivka directions, the military emphasized. From February 24th to January 17th, the armed forces of Ukraine eliminated about 116,950 Russian invaders, and 870 people were killed in the past day alone. The head of the Donetsk People's Republic, Denis Pushilin, said that units of the Wagner PMC continue to carry out a cleansing operation on the territory of Soledar. Despite the fact that the city has completely come under the control of the Russian military and the forces of the Wagner PMC, Pushilin stated that the cleansing is still ongoing in the city. After a quick loss over Soledar, the armed forces of Ukraine began to mine the approaches to Bakhmut. At the moment, for the armed forces of Ukraine, there is a serious threat of losing Bakhmut, since the city turned out to be vulnerable from 3 directions at once. Against this background, it became known that the armed forces of Ukraine began massively mining the approaches to Bakhmut from the north, south, and east. It is known that Ukrainian troops have stepped up on the southern and northern outskirts of Bakhmut, probably expecting that an attack by Russian troops could follow from these directions. Meanwhile, Russian forces are advancing towards the embattled city of Bakhmut in eastern Ukraine after capturing the nearby salt mining town of Soledar, according to the Institute for the Study of War. Russia on Friday claimed to have captured Soledar, which is located 9 miles north of Bakhmut in Ukraine's Donetsk region, and on Tuesday, Kremlin-installed authorities in the Donetsk region said in a statement on Telegram that Soledar was under Russian control. On the territory of the Donetsk People's Republic, Russian troops liberated Soledar, the Post said. In its latest assessment of the war in Ukraine on Monday, the ISW, the US-based think tank, said Russian forces may be intensifying attacks near Klishkiivka, located southwest of Bakhmut, after capturing Soledar. It's part of a new effort to encircle Bakhmut, after months of ineffective frontal assaults, the ISW said. Russian sources also reported that heavy fighting continued in Klishkiivka on Monday, the ISW observed, noting that the Ukrainian General Staff reported that its forces had repelled Russian attacks against Bakhmut itself, Klishkiivka and Mayorsk on Saturday and Sunday. Geolocated combat footage published on January 15th indicates that Russian forces have made marginal advances in southeastern Bakhmut near the Bakhmut garbage dump, the think tank said. Russia's defense ministry on Friday credited its artillery, aviation, and missile forces in the capture of Soledar. Ukraine has continued to deny that Soledar has been seized completely by Russian forces. On Tuesday, a spokesman for Ukraine's Eastern Military Command, Serhiy Cherevati, reiterated that Ukraine's forces were holding out. Eastern Ukraine is remaining the main target of the aggressor's attack. The enemy focused the main efforts on the Bakhmut direction, especially near Soledar, where battles are raging. Ukrainian units continue holding the defense in the city itself and its outskirts, he said during a television broadcast, local news outlet Ukrinform reported. Bakhmut has seen some of the most intense fighting of the war in Ukraine. According to Ukraine's Kaprava, 90% of Bakhmut's residents have fled, with the 8,000 residents who remain subject to daily fire. Meanwhile, the U.S. military has launched a new, expanded combat training program in Germany to bolster the skills of Ukrainian forces fighting Russia's invasion. The program, which began on Sunday, aims to get a battalion of about 500 troops back on the battlefield to fight the Russians in the next 5 to 8 weeks, said General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The training program comes as both Ukraine and Russia prepare to enter an intense new phase of the war this spring, with Ukraine fielding new tanks supplied by NATO countries, and Russia completing its mass mobilization of hundreds of thousands of conscripted troops. The so-called combined arms training is aimed at honing the skills of the Ukrainian forces so they will be better prepared to launch an offensive or counter any surge in Russian attacks. They will learn how to better move and coordinate their company and battalion-size units in battle, using combined artillery, armor, and ground forces. Until now, the Pentagon had declined to say exactly when the training would start.